Good day, this is Doug Sharp from Vintage Museum Restoration here in Indianapolis, and this is a 1966 Tecno Puma GT with a Parilla MK16 factory tuned engine on it. Now, this is a very rare kart with even a rare engine on it. We bought the car out of Sweden. And the story we got on the kart is that it was actually purchased at an international racing event in 1966 and then set in a barn. This was a complete restoration. This thing was very, very challenging on it. It had some parts that had been replaced that weren't all factory, and it had some parts that needed to be repaired. The Tecno kart is generally considered the father of all modern karts. They were the first company to introduce the Sidewinder go-kart, and they were dominant, winning the world championship in 64, 65, and 66. This car has the GT car, and later the Jolly, had this adjustable wheelbase on it. They had cast pieces that mounted to the frame where you could adjust a wheelbase back and forth for different tracks. This has got the original floating Tecno caliper on it, a unit we had to find, Tecno master cylinder. Now in 66, because the races at World Champion events were so long, Tecno decided to build a tank with a chain oiler in it. Here's a picture of the chain oiler on the tank, and the chain oiler line is run out. So it goes up there around the motor and goes right onto the chain. Very unique setup. Now the Parilla, the MK16, this actually was a factory tuned engine. It came out in 1966, just before the World Championships. And Tecno won that World Championships that year with an MK16 motor with Susanna Reganelli, the driver. Now, this car set off a bunch of alarms when we first bought it because it has a steel brake pedal instead of the cast brake pedal. Originally, they came with two cast brake pedals. Here's the throttle pedal, as you can see. And then here is the steel brake pedal. And then the car had this odd lead seal on it. So during our research, we found out that the FIA had actually banned cast brake pedals for international events. And then we found out that unlike today, where when you go through scrutineering at a national, international event, all the cars are sealed. The only time that they ever sealed the cars back in this period of time was if it was at an international event. So this means that this kart came from or raced in an international event. It was like I said, the kart was bought in Sweden. It was been put up in a barn for 40 years. I got it with the motor and the pipe and stuff. It was missing the original brake system, and the motor mount, or I should say the axle mount on the engine side, was broken. So we had to completely repair that and build it from the ground up, and came out really nice. The factory Tecno wheels, all the wheels are 100% in good shape. None of them are broken or chipped. The famous Tecno fiberglass floor pan. And there's just not a lot of information on this kart. I mean, you get some people out there from the Tecno Facebook site that say, well, it's a Jolly. And then you have others that say that, you know, that it's a GT Puma. Well, according to the research that we did, most of it came from the British historical site. This is indeed a 1966 Puma GT. And one of the things that the GT had that the Jolly didn't have is the GT had the longer mount here in the back, whereas the Puma one, it is shorter. This has got an original Tecno sprocket hub on it. And we've seen two variations of mounts. We have the variation where the motor was mounted flat, and then we've had other people come and say that it actually had an angled piece on it. Well, there's very few pictures of this kart even racing that are even available. So I think we did a really good job putting this thing back together the way that it came originally from the factory, especially considering that this is not a production car, that this is actually a factory race car from the factory. And we say that for several reasons. One of the reasons is because of the fact that it was bought, the people in Sweden told us that it was actually bought at an international event. The second is the brake pedal. The third being the lead seal. But probably the most tall-tailing thing of all is the engine. You know, MK16 Parillas are a very, very rare engine. There just wasn't very many built. And the Parilla brothers built it just to win the world championship, which in fact it did in 1966 in the hands of Susanna Reganelli. So it's still a bit of a mystery, but we're really happy the way that it turned out. We hope you all like it. And if we get updates, because we're continuing to research the car, we'll let you all know. But here it is, the Tecno Puma GT with the Parilla MK16 motor. What a beautiful piece.